Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. I hope everyone's having a great day today. It's January 23rd, 2020. It is another gloomy, cold, rainy day here in what's normally referred to as Hot Atlanta. So wherever you're at, if it's cold and rainy like here, or snowing, or sunny and warm, hopefully you're having a lovely day. I had, of course, named this YouTube channel Search for Signs. And I did it because I really was originally just going to be focusing more on the miracle signs and my own experiences with Maitreya and so forth. And over the months that I've done it, I've kind of expanded it out, still talking about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, but talking more and more about this story in different ways, his priorities and stuff, where I think that the name itself, Search for Signs, is lacking. But I'm going to keep the name the same, but it really isn't about searching for signs. It's more about, I guess, searching for truth, really. But I had touched on a few videos that I've done over the last month or so, talking about Maitreya, of course, on TV, and why he could be on TV for 10 years, speaking on TV, and yet no one is mentioning anything about Maitreya being on TV. In fact, there seems to be less interest about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, at least on the internet, than there was when Benjamin Creme was alive. Now, why do I think all this is going on? But also, I want to tie it into Maitreya not only being on TV, but also kind of tie it into the political theater that we're seeing in the United States and around the world, and, of course, the environmental issue. Because they're all tied together. There's a reason, they're all connected. It's amazing how the events of the world today are all connected. But to touch on Maitreya's television interview, back in 1977, when he entered London, it was hoped, from what I've read in Benjamin Creme's books, it was hoped that around 1982 would have been the first time that Maitreya could have come out on TV. It was hoped that maybe, Benjamin Creme would have laid enough groundwork, which I think he did a fantastic job, obviously, but it was just humanity wasn't ready, that in 1982 would have been the soonest Maitreya could have come out on TV and given an interview at that time. Now, he was living in the Asian community of London before he was out on TV. And the way that Maitreya would have gotten the signal that humanity was ready to make the needed changes, really, was we would have had to have sent a representative, which would have been a reporter or a journalist of some kind of reputation, really. And that person or a group of people or whatever would have gone into the Asian community of London to seek Maitreya out. And that would have signaled to Maitreya that we were ready. Now, with all the publicity that Benjamin Creme was getting at that time, being on national television shows and so forth, like the Merv Griffin show and everything, there was a general interest that was just really starting to build about Maitreya and being in London. And it was hoped that would have been enough to at least have a journalist have enough curiosity to kind of go look for him. Well, not one reporter or journalist of any reputation went in there. There were some that went in there, but they weren't of a reputation enough to really represent humanity. They were kind of just doing it more, I guess, as individuals or representing a smaller news media, news group or something. That it wasn't enough for Maitreya to say, okay, humanity's ready. And it was pushed back, and there was times that Maitreya could have come out on TV, but he didn't. For whatever reason, and he knows the world scene better than any one of us. And in 2010, it finally happened. He finally came out and did an interview on TV. And then not long after that, Benjamin Creme made the announcement that he had been on TV. And of course, everyone went flying trying to find any kind of proof or video that he, who was Maitreya, what was the name he was using, how did he look, what was he saying, and all that kind of stuff. And of course, it landed on Patel because he looked the part. Well, we're not going to talk about that. I've put up videos about why I don't think Maitreya was Patel. But Anyway, one of the main reasons why I think Maitreya has not still been recognized as Maitreya on TV, it goes kind of along the lines of Benjamin Creme talked about this when he was working with his master. And he asked his master a question about a topic they were working on. And his master answered, "That is it exactly." And then he started talking about something else or talking about the same topic. And he asked, "Was that it?" And his master said, "Yeah, that's it exactly." And there was a number of times that he did that. And the master kept saying over and over again, "That's it exactly, that's it exactly, that's it exactly." Till when eventually Benjamin Creme started to realize that there was a reason why he kept saying it the same way. Because I guess he didn't usually answer his questions like that. So finally, he asked the question that the master said to him, "That's it exactly, how you see it." Allowing Benjamin Creme's intuition to come up with the truth of whatever they were working on, and not just to give him the answer, if that makes any sense. So when these masters communicate with all of us, or with humanity, a lot of times their communication might seem particularly odd or not very effective or whatever like that, based on the fact that we don't relate to one another like that. We infringe on our free will all the time. So from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, either our free will is being infringed on, or we're infringing on other people's free will, from commercials on TV to the news that we watch, to our own family and parents, to our work, to the people that we interact with in our life, and so forth. There's this battle going on between wills, really, and that's the way we've been educated. That's the way we live. That's the life that we have here on planet Earth at this time. Now, eventually, we will stop living life like that, because we'll start to act and emulate more the way the masters interact with one another, which is totally harmless. But for now, initially, when we hear these masters speak on TV like Maitreya, it might seem particularly odd, because they don't infringe on our free will the way that a normal person would. So Maitreya could be on TV speaking in a way that people don't pick up on it, because of the fact, and this is the reason why I brought this other point up, is the actual journalist or interviewer who is interviewing him is asking questions, and he's answering them directly the way that they're asking it. And it could be very similar to other people on the same show are answering those questions. And so until humanity is ready, our news media are not going to ask him the right questions to bring about the fact that there is more to what he wants to talk about than just maybe what he's talking now, right? So what do I mean? Well, the masters view the media as our representatives, the way we communicate. And it's flawed, and it's agenda-driven and so forth, but yet it is the way that we communicate. So our representatives, our media, might not think to ask him the right questions until humanity itself is ready. Just the same way when he was waiting for the first interview back in the early 80s, it only took a reporter or somebody of note to actually go and seek him out. It could be something as simple as those group of people or whoever's been interviewing him over the years are only asking him questions that they think to ask, and not asking him other questions. And until they do, he's only answering it as directly as they're willing to take, so to speak. So he's not going to infringe on the reporter's free will, and he's also not going to infringe on humanity's free will. So it's just a very simple, very direct. Now, energetically, I think he's changing the situation in the world just because of who he is. He's the Lord of love. He's the one awaited by all the world's religions, whether they're aware of it or not. But that Lord of love is just that, love. Now, that love nature of Maitreya, of the Christ, is flowing out in tremendous potency in the world when he's on TV and when he's not on TV, all the time. And it's stimulating all of us to be more of who we are. And that is what the sword of cleavage is. When Jesus said, "I've come to bring a sword," not to bring peace, but to bring a sword, to set mother against daughter, father against son, brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, however you put it, right? it wasn't a sword made of metal. He was talking about the energy of love, the Christ energy, the Christ principle. Now, temporarily, it creates this division, which is what we're seeing when you watch TV about, let's say, I'm just bringing this up about the impeachment of Trump, right? Well, it's gotten to the point now where there is literally nobody is willing to move on either side, whether it's the Democrats moving toward the Republicans or the Republicans moving toward the Democrats. It's just straight down the middle. It's clear. It couldn't be clearer where everybody is on this issue of, did Donald Trump break the law or not, right? It's clear. Now, the other part of it is, and our lives are like this. We are becoming more ingrained in who we are. So if you're a selfless person, you'll be more selfless. If you're a selfish person, you'll be more selfish, and so forth. And it's coming up. It's bringing everything to the surface so humanity can see the problem clearly. We have to see the problems clearly. Maitreya cannot give us the solution, the problem, the answer to the problem until humanity is starting to see the problem for itself. Now, he could on TV, and it might actually be enough to where it could move us back from the abyss a little bit and make things a little easier, maybe go a little faster than all of us would like. But eventually humanity would go right back to the edge because we hadn't learned what we needed to learn. Humanity has to see the problem clearly. That's what this energy of love, that's what this sword of cleavage is doing. It's bringing everything to the surface that we can see it. And once we see it, we'll move back from the edge permanently and we'll never come back to that edge again. And then we can turn to the masters and Maitreya and look to them. Like, how do we beautify our cities? How do we, fund healthcare so it won't dry up the coffers? How do we take care of our people? How do we do this kind of stuff? Because right now, the reason why we're at the edge is because we're not thinking as one family. And our representatives, our world leaders, aren't thinking it that way. And so when you look at the political theater that's going on right now, what are they really battling over? They're battling over the budget of the United States. Everybody wants that money. The Republicans want the money, the Democrats want the money, and they're fighting over that. Really, it's warfare, right? So once they start to, the people wake up and then say, what, enough's enough. You guys can go, fight in the corner. We're going to actually take care of what we need to take care of. We're going to continue to elect those same types of people. And that's the sword of cleavage that's going on. Now, looking at it in terms of the environment, people like the Greta Thunbergs of the world and others, the Leonardo DiCaprios of the world and so forth, are starting to help to awake humanity up to the problems that the environment has. Now, of course, it's just as divided about climate change is the big topic. So you got those people that are arguing against it and those people are arguing that we need to do something about it, right? Now, truthfully, the masters are going to tell us that it's 80% caused by man, 20% natural causes. So there is some natural causes to it, but it's not enough that's what's going on today, or to cause the problems of today. And it is dangerous. Maitreya is going to say it's extremely dangerous. Now, it's not as dangerous as the nuclear radiation that is in the atmosphere in the potency that it is today. And that's a whole other talk show to talk about. But anyway, you can't argue that water pollution isn't a problem because according to the World Health Organization, there are more beds being filled in the hospitals around the world because of people drinking, and getting sick from the water than any other disease. It's a huge problem. Maybe not in the more developed world, but definitely in the third world for sure, right? So it's a huge issue. So even if you don't agree with, and that's my thing, that's been my argument all along. So even if you don't agree with climate change, that's fine. But you have to look at the problems of soil pollution, air pollution, water pollution, and so forth. We're polluting the environment at a massive, massive rate, which is making us all sick. It's a problem. So, like I said, I think we get so ingrained in our own ideology of whatever it is that we can't see the problems of the world. We can't see the truth. It's really about seeking truth. So I think it's all tied in together. I think the political thing, that's going on today is because of the sort of cleavage, because Maitreya is in the world in the way that he is in the world, and it's flowing out to humanity, causing a temporary division, politically. And it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer that they're not going to do anything to compromise. Now, Maitreya, and I'll leave the video with this. Now, Maitreya, when he was talking to Benjamin Creme's daughter one time, and I love this story that she put in Share International, Maitreya said to her that everything in life is energy. So just because you're having a bad time this year or whatever, who's to say next year might not be the best year of your life, right? So and put it into this, just because we're living in a very, very divided world ideology-wise, right? Who's to say that next year we won't be more cooperative? Because the future that we're actually moving into, whether we're aware of it or not, is a one of oneness, one of unity, because that's where we're headed, But right now we're moving out of the divisions into that. So, but also, it's going to swing back as quickly as what happened with Europe back in the 80s. It was divided right down the middle between the East and the West, right? Between the United States-backed Western Europe and the Russian-backed Eastern Europe. And how fast did the continent of Europe change when the people finally just rose up and tore down the Berlin Wall? It was weeks, if that, days. It changed that fast. I mean, they had to rewrite maps and redraw out lines on globes and stuff. And I still have a globe in my attic that has East and West Germany that don't exist anymore, right? So that's how fast it can happen. And so that's where I am so hopeful about this decade that we're just now entering into is going to be the greatest decade of all time. I hope this helps. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.